Hey everybody, so today we're going to be working on our April 2013 monthly Copic coloring card kit, and this month's kit features this cute Whimsy stamps image by Elizabeth Bell. It's called Little Bells, and I love that she's facing away from us, so it was something a little bit different for us to try. You can head over to the store, and I'll put a link down in the description to see if it's still available. If you're watching it a little bit later on, just type in Little Bells in the search engine up there at the top of the store, and it'll tell you if it's available. If not, check out the current kit and see if maybe that's something you'd like to do, and then you can color along with me that month. Okay, so this, I've already stamped my image on Nina 80-pound Solar White cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. So let's color. So I'm going to start by coloring her skin, and for that I'm going to use E21, E00, E000, R20, and R30 for the cheeks. And there's not too much to color, but those are the colors I'm going to use. If you want to try a different color, you can head over to the blog, and there's a link down in the description. And under labels on the sidebar, there's a whole bunch of other posts on skin tones that you can try out. So I'm going to start with my E21, and I'm going to lay down my ink where I want it to be the darkest first. So I'm going to start right here in the small of her back. And I'm going to brush just a little bit away from her arm and a little bit away from this side. And she's also got a little bit of stomach showing over here. So I'm going to go ahead and brush just a little bit on there. And then I'm going to grab E00. And I'm going to actually fill this little section in because it's hardly any left. And then over here we're going to brush. I'm going to touch down on my E21 and I'm going to brush into the middle. And then I'm going to fill it in with E000. But again, I lay down my pin on top of the color I last used. And I'm going to go back to my E21, and I'm going to do this back arm over here. So I'm going to go right down where her shirt is and underneath her little ruffle. And then let's do right next to her pants and the back of her hand. And then right here she's got this little indentation in her hand. I'm going to give that just a little dab. I'm going to grab E00, and again I'll touch down on top of my E21 just a little bit, and we're going to brush that out. And I'm actually going to go out to the edge of this little ruffle right here and go around that. And brush that right out here into the middle. And just soften that line. You bring this out just a little bit more. And then I'm going to fill it in with my E000. And we're going to go do this arm. So again, I'm going to grab E21, and I'm going to go right around, right next to her little bow. And then we're going to go down the back of her arm, on her hand down here, and a little bit on this little pinky right there. Let's fill in right around her little pigtail a little bit too, because that's going to cast a shadow on her arm. Okay, and then I'm going to grab E00, and again lay down on top of your 21 just a little bit, and then flick that up. There we go. Go right over that again and soften my line. I didn't get it very good the first time. There we go. And then I'm going to fill it in with my E000. Then we will have her face up here. So let's grab E21 again. And I'm going to go, let me tip it back this way again. I'm going to go right along her hairline, like this. And then I'm going to get a little bit on each side of her little curly Q right there. And I'm going to get her chin, kind of bring it up just a little bit there in the front. Then I'm going to fill this little section in with my E00. And again, I'm brushing over my last color. I want to soften that line. And then we'll go do the same thing up here. I'm going to leave a little patch there just for my last color there. And then I'm going to fill it in with my E00. And then I'm going to add her some cheeks. So I'm going to add R20. And I'm just going to flick right like this. And then just to soften it just a little bit, I went ahead and went over it with my R30. And then I go back over it with my E00. And that, oh, wait, she's got a little foot over here. I was going to say that was all of her skin, but there's just a little patch left right over here. So for her foot, let's do the bottom of her foot and right next to her pants. And then we'll grab E00. And it's such a small area, I'm just going to fill that all the way in. But I'm just lightly brushing over my line there to soften it up. I also have a little patch right here on the back of her neck that I missed. So let's get that while I have my pins out. That was E21, and then we'll grab E00. And again, we're going to brush right along the edges there and fill that in. Flick right over the top of that line, soften it up, and fill it in with E00. And if you're not liking how it looks, you can always, again, go back over the whole thing a second time, and that'll soften your lines up even more. So now let's go do her hair, and for that I'm going to use E27, E19, and E17. I'm going to start with E27, and I'm going to start with this back ponytail first. So I'm going to take my E27, and I'm just going to go right along her part right here. And just add a little bit of shadow. And I come down in here, and it looks like her braid kind of pulls in right there. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit in that little crease, same right here. And I'm just going to kind of work my way down until I get to this little bow and add a little bit of shadows right in where I can see where there's creates a little V right there. And then right here, I need to go add my shadow right here next to her head still. Okay, and then I'm going to grab E19. And I'm going to start back up here at the top. So I'm going to touch down on top of my E27. And we're just going to flick that out. And I try to go in the direction the hair is going. So like this one's kind of pointing down. I wouldn't want to brush my brush like this. You want to keep your brush going in the direction that the hair would be pulling. So flick all the way down here a little bit. And then go on top of each of these cute little V's that we made. Add a little bit more right there. Maybe get the end of this little curly Q too. And then we're going to finish that off with E17. So I'm going to go up here at the top again and flick right on top of my 19 and brush it right out here to the edge. And I'm going to try not to go outside the lines. Flicking right over the top of my 19 and pulling up into my white. Okay, and then we'll start over here on this side. So again, I'm going to grab my E27 and I'm going to start up here at the crown of her head. And again, you're going to brush in the direction of her hair. So it kind of curls, looks like it's kind of swooping down. So I'm going to take my pen and I'm just going to swoop down in the direction that her hair is growing. Okay, she's got some little bangs right here. I'm going to go ahead and flick up on the bottom of those little bangs. And right here it looks like it kind of curves in behind that other piece. And then let's go up here and continue around the back of her head. So I'm just going to flick down away from that crown, going in the direction that the hair is growing. So our ponytail's pulling over here to the side, so we want to keep our hair going in the same direction. I'm just working my way down to the bottom of her ponytail, like that. Okay, and then she's got a little V right here, so I'm going to go ahead and flick a little bit of dark right here where she's got that V, where it would be tucking underneath another piece. And then right here, see how she's got a little V right here? So we're going to go ahead and flick a little bit in there. And I'm just going to continue down wherever it looks like it kind of pulls inside and add a little bit of my dark shadows in there. And this one right here, well, that's her shirt, so we definitely don't want to color that. And then let's get the bottom of her ponytail here too. Okay. So I'm going to take my E19 and we're going to add some color to this. So I'm going to start right here on her little bangs. I'm going to flick up. And I've touched down on my 27. And we're just going to add some more color on there. And I'm just going to work my way around on the crown of her head. And again, we're going in the direction her hair looks like it's flowing. And I love that the artist has put some lines on there for us. Just work my way down to the bottom there. And then right here where we added some shadows, right in here, we want to go up. And we'll continue down, adding some of our red on top of these. And then let's go ahead and add a little bit to this little curly Q right here. Let's just flick a little bit in here like that, maybe a little bit right there. And then we're going to grab E17. And I'm going to start right up here at the bangs. And we're going to continue up here on the crown. And you can, if you like that look, you can leave some of this white. I just personally don't like that, so I always make sure to color mine in. But you have to decide what you would like it to look like. And if you want some white highlights in there, go ahead and leave that on there. Now we're going to flick up from this way. Get right in here and get all these great braids. And then get this little curly Q right here too. Like that. Okay, now I like my hair to have a few more strands in there, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my E27 again, and I'm going to go back and add the streaks in. So I'm going to start here to bangs, and I hold my pen more straight up and down when I do those. I just kind of flick, and I always go past where I went last time. So let's go up here at this crown, and I'm just going to bring them down. And again, you want to go in the direction your hair is growing, or the way it looks like it's being pulled. And just add a few little streaks in there so it looks more like her hair instead of all blended together. You got some texture. You want to do the same thing down here at the bottom. And let's do each one of these little cute braids. And a ponytail. down here at the bottom. And then I want to do this side too. This side there's not quite so much space, so you just got to add a few little streaks, but you can get a few in there. Make it look like here, and I'm just using the tip of my brush, so the lines are very small. Okay, and then I'm also going to go in and I'm going to add some streaks with my E19. So again, start over here at our bangs, and I'm just going to flick a few right over the top of my E27. And I'm going to go up here and I'm just going to lightly bring those down. Create some more texture. And then I'm going to go up from the bottom here. And we're going to get this little braid. I might add just a little bit right here in this little curly Q. Okay, and then I like how the bottom looks, so I'm not going to add any down there. But I like how it adds just a little bit of texture to her hair. So let's work our way down, and next let's do her shirt. And for that I'm going to use Y15, 13, 11. I'm going to start with my 15. So I'm going to add those right where I want it to be the darkest. So I'm going to say this little sleeve right here is going to cast a shadow on the back of her shirt. So I'm going to go right down the back. And then it looks like she's got a little ruffle right here, and it kind of dips up into a crease. So I'm going to put some right there. But I also want to get this side of the ruffle. And then her little sleeve right here, it looks like her arm's a little bit tucked in. So I'm going to go down the back of that. I'm going to add a little bit to that ruffle. And then her hair right here is going to cast a little bit of shadow. So I'm going to add some right there. And then for her sleeve on this side, because this is behind her hair, I'm going to go ahead and color that in. But I also want to go in front of her hair. And then she's got another great little crease right here, so we're going to color that. And we're going to color this little crease and underneath of her chin. And then she's got a little ruffle right here that we're going to color. Oh, and right there I missed a piece of her skin. So I'm going to grab E00 and fill that in. Right here in front of this bow is part of her arm. Okay, so now I'm going to grab Y13, and we're going to add on top of our Y15. So I'm going to lay down right on top of my Y15 a little bit, and I'm going to flick out with my 13 and pull some of that color away. Same up here, lay down on top of your last color and flick it away. I'm going to add a little bit down the back of her shirt here and around the collar too. A little bit right there. Okay, let's do the same thing for this side. So I'm just flicking right over the top of that line I already put down and just pulling a little bit more out into my white space. And I'm going to grab Y11 and we're going to fill that in. I'm just going to go down here and start at the ruffle, flick over my Y15 and add my Y11 right on top, or sorry, Y13. And depending on how good I did at blending my Y15 and my 13, I may go all the way over here to the side and just pull from the side all the way across to her shirt. Let's fill this side in. And also we'll kind of decide whether or not, if you want to do it twice, if you want her shirt to be twice as dark, then I would go ahead and do it a second time. So now let's go do her jeans, and for that we're going to use BG 78, 75, 72, and 70. And I'm going to start back here on the back part of her jeans, and I'm going to start with my BG 78, and I'm going to add that right along her arm, just a little bit. So I'm using just the tip of my pen, and we're going to go across the bottom of her fanny. And then each of these little pockets is going to cast a little bit of shadow. So I'm going to go kind of a little bit, just a tiny dab around that. And then she's got a little seam right here. I'm going to go ahead and dab a little bit of my 78 on top of that. And then I'm going to grab 75. And we want to go over those lines. So I'm going to go ahead and flick right over the top of my 78 and pull out just a tiny bit more. Flick over that seam. And I think I'll actually go up this side over here to make that a little bit dark so it looks like it's kind of rolling over there. And then I'm going to grab 72, and we're going to add a little bit more. So go right over the top of your 75, and flick out into your white space. Okay, so now when you go from 75 to 70, it's a pretty big jump. So I'm going to tip it. So I'm going to take my 70 over here and my 72. And I'm going to take 70 and wipe it onto my 72 and pick up a little bit of ink. So you've got a little bit of color. See it there at the end? And then I'm going to start with my pen down on my 72 I already painted and just lightly flick that on. And I don't worry about getting the ink on my other pen. If you're worried, you can color the dark color onto a piece of acetate or your acrylic block or anything that you can pick it up off of, CD case, and use it from there. I just always end up using all the ink off there. Or you can wipe your pen too at the end off on a piece of scratch paper, and then you don't have to worry about that. But we're just filling in her pants here, so I'm going to grab a little bit more. And I'm just going to go right across like that. Okay, and it's still looking a little liney to me, so I'm going to take my 72. And I'm just going to lightly flick back over some of this. And then I'm going to take my 70 again and just flick right over. And I got a little bit of paint still on the end, so I'm going to use that up here. And then just very lightly brush over the whole thing. Like that. Okay, and then let's go work over here on this side of her pants. So let's start over here on this knee that's way behind. So again, I'm going to start with my 78. So I'm going to draw a nice little line. Oops, let me turn it a little bit here. Nice little line right next to the seam of her legs. And a little bit up the side there. And then we're going to grab 75. And we want to go right over the top of our 78. Like that. Actually, I think I'll do just a little bit up here too. Bring it around up here by this bow a little bit more, because her shirt's going to be leaning out there and it's going to be casting a little bit of a shadow. And then I'm going to grab 72. And we're going to go right over the top of that. I'm going to brush up here and soften that line up quite a bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to grab my 70, and again I'm going to do the tip to tip, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe 70 onto 72, pick up some ink, and we're just going to flick that right on there. But you want to lay down your pen down on top of the color you already painted, like that. Alright, and then let's go work on this other side. So again, I've grabbed my 78, and we're going to get just a little bit right here in front of her hand. And up here at the top. And then I'm going to do this great line that she's got right here on her fanny, on the back of her thigh. And then let's do right here a little bit. Let's bring our line out here on her jeans and do a little bit on this side of that line. Make it a little bit darker there. And then we're going to grab 75. And again, you want to touch down on top of your 78. We're going to pull that out here into our white. And I'm going to bring this up just a little bit more. I'll bring this up to this line that's up here in her jeans, like that. Okay, and she's also got this little crease right here where her pants dip down and her legs bent up. So I'm going to add a little bit of that right in here. Give that a little bit of a shadow. And then we want to do the back of this pant leg. I'm going to flick that right up here, as far as you want that to go. Okay, I'm liking that. So I'm going to grab 72, And I want to add on top of this, so we're going to go up here, but I want to leave a little bit of space for my next lightest color, so I'm going to leave a little bit of white there. Okay, and we're going to do this pant leg, so let's get that. Okay, and I'm going to say this is going to come around like this. Let's bring that up. And then down here on this bottom part, we're going to flick this out. So the front of her jeans is going to be a little bit lighter, but we want to bring this out past this seam. Okay, and you may go over it multiple times. I'm softening that line every time I go by. It's not softening it like I would like, so I'm going to do it a couple of times. Okay, I like that. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my 70 again, and I'm going to do the tip to tip. So I'm going to wipe right on top of my 72, and I'm going to start up here and fill in this little spot. Like that. And then I think I'll go over here and do this leg of her jeans. And this tip to tip also works best if your pin is really wet. So it may, if it's not picking it up like you'd like, you may need to refill it. I always find it works better if I have more ink in there. Work my way over here to this side. Okay, now it's still looking a little bit patchy, so I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to grab some more ink on my pen, and I'm going to go down here at the bottom and just work my way back up, just like so. And let's get a little bit more right here. Okay, now I'm going to take my pen, and I need to get a little bit closer to the edge here, so I'm just going to wipe right along the edge. Kind of swirl it down this way a little bit. Alright, that looks great. I'm going to leave that just like that. So next, let's go work on these great hair bows, and for those I'm going to use R08, R05, and R02, and I'm going to start with my R08, and I'm going to flick right in the middle of each of these great bows, and I'm going to do this little center knot all the way, and I'm going to add a little bit over here on this side. Same with this bow, we're going to add a little bit of that in the middle, color in the little knot, and then give it some little streaks right here in the center. And then I'm going to grab my 05, and we're going to go right on top of 08, and I'm going to add a little bit, but I'm going to leave some white at the end so I can add my 2. I flick right over the top of that. And then we're going to fill it in with R02. So just so I don't go out of the lines, I'm going to brush from the outside to the inside. I don't want to get my red out there. It's kind of hard to erase. And plus it'll push the color back towards the dark a little bit, causing it to lighten up just a tad bit on the ends a little bit more. This side. Okay. And then also I'm going to do these with her little patch on her knee. So I'm going to take my R08 and I'm going to add my shadow first. So I'm going to go around this little dot. That. And then I'm going to grab R05 and add a little bit more. I think last time I colored the dots in with my with the RO2 just because I'd accidentally colored them too much. But this time, I think that I will color them yellow. So I'm gonna, and that was RO2. I'm gonna grab my Y15 and just give them a little flick. That way it'll match your shirt. So next, let's do this cute cat over here. And for the cat, we're going to use E53 and E50. I'm going to start with my E53, and I'm going to make the cat just darker down on the bottom part and then use my 50 up here at the top. So I'm going to take my 53 and I'm just going to add a little bit of shadows. So I'm just going to go right along like this and just give him a little bit more shadows towards the bottom of his body and at the top. Okay, then I'm going to grab my 50 and fill that in. I'm brushing right over my 53, flicking right up into the top of my kitty. And I think I'll darken him up a little bit, so I'm going to grab 53 again. And add a second coat. And then go over it with my 50. So for our little spool of thread right here, I'm going to use E31 and E30 for the spool, and for the thread I'm going to use R29 and R39. So I'm going to start with E31, and I'm just going to do the outside of my spool in the bottom. So I'm going to add a little bit of that, and then I'm going to add a little bit up here so it looks like it's curving over. Same for this one, up, and a little bit at the top, and then I'm going to fill it in with the 30. And it's a really small area, so it doesn't take too much there. And I'm going to grab R39 for the thread. I'm going to give it just a little bit here at the bottom and a little bit at the top. And then I'm going to fill it in with R29. And again, make sure to flick over the top of your 39 so you're pulling that line just a little bit. So now let's go do the grass, and for that we're going to use G40, G43, G46 in the colorless blender. And I'm going to start with my G40, and I don't want it to look like she's just sitting here in the grass and he's not. So I'm going to kind of go, my kitty's up here like this. I'm going to kind of eyeball it over here to underneath this cute little hair bow. So we're going to add a little line right there. And then I'm going to kind of go back so I can bring my little line across like this, just so I can see where I want my grass to start and stop here. Pull it up just a little bit more. Okay, so now I know I have a starting and stopping point. So I'm going to go ahead and take my color, and I'm just going to flick away from my girl. And I've got my pen more sideways, so it's kind of flat. So it's covering more space than I would normally cover with my pen. And I'm going to go all the way across over here to this side. I'm going to go to over here by her pants. Got to get it in between the kitty. Now be careful around that spool of thread. You don't want to get that red on your pen. Okay. That's pretty good for my first run through. So then I'm going to grab E43, and I want to add a little bit of shadows where her arm is sitting. So I'm going to go right here where she would be leaning against the grass and casting a shadow. Just give it a little bit more dark in there. Up here around her leg, around her toe. And then we want to also get the kitty. So I'm going to add a little bit in here where the kitty is and where this spool of thread would be sitting. then I'm going to go back with my 40 again, and I want to soften this line up. So I'm going to go right over the edge of my 43. And I'm actually going to extend my line out here a little bit more. I want my grass to go further out. I'm going to brush right over my 43 and flick out here more into the outside. And I want my grass to stop right next to the girl there. I want it to cover up more space. And we'll work our way clear over here. And go over the edge of your 43. Soften that up. Okay, and then I'm going to take my colorless blender and I'm going to soften it a little bit more. So I'm going to go right over the edges and just kind of go back and forth over the whole thing. And soften up that grass just a little bit more. Like that. Okay, and then to add my grass streaks, I'm going to grab G46. And I just went in and I'm going to hold my pen up a little bit more straighter, and I'm going to add some grass in here. So I'm just going to give it a little check. So I kind of do a little checking motion with my fingers. And we're just going to add however many grass streaks you want to have. So we've got a little few down here. Maybe a few down here. Come around over here by her pants. And it's okay if the grass goes up onto her because she's sitting in the grass and some of them are longer, so they're going to pull up onto her clothes and stuff. Okay, and we'll get our kitty, so let's go add a few over here by him. Maybe add a couple down here. Okay, and then I'm going to grab 43, and I'm going to do the same thing. Add a little bit more texture in here for my grass. And it's okay if you go over some of the grass you already put down. I'm just trying to add a little bit more texture to my girl here. Maybe add a few streaks of this green inside of the grass you have already put down. So that looks pretty good for grass. So next, let's go give her a little bit of outline. So I'm going to take my B000 pen and start over here on this side. She's got a little patch right here between her hair, so I'm going to fill that in. And she's got just a little bit left right here where the grass didn't touch all the way onto her ponytail. So I'm going to do that. And then up here, I'm going to go right around this ponytail and give it a little bit of my blue. Oops. Up here to about the crown of her head. So I'm going to stop right there. And then I'm going to grab B000 or quadruple zero. And I want to spread that image, that space out, that line out just a little bit. So I'm going to flick right over the top of it and pull away from it just a bit. That way I can soften that line up just a tad. Okay, and then I'm going to continue around my entire girl with this one. So I'm going to go over here at the knee just so I can stay in a line here and see. I'm going to go all the way around with my B000 and meet up over here with my other line. And I also want to go around my kitty. And then I'm going to take my colorless blender pen and I'm just going to flick over that whole line and pull it out into my white. And that will soften that edge up just a little bit. And then we're going to use our cloud template to add some clouds to the background. Alright, so I'm going to add some clouds to my girl, and you can always stamp your girl on a piece of Post-it note and then cut her out and mask her if you're worried about getting ink on her. I just try to be careful when I do it and as you can see, I've made lots of clouds with this little template. You can download this template on the sidebar of the store blog, print it out, and use it multiple times. So I always start by doing my clouds down towards the bottom. So I kind of lay it down here and decide where I'm going to put it. And I'm going to use Ranger's Distress Ink Tumbled Glass. And I've got my little finger dauber. And I'm just going to dab it in there. And I start by putting my dauber on top of my template first and kind of wiping it a couple of times, and then go out onto my girl so that it's a little bit lighter by the time it gets there. Okay, and then for over here, because I don't want to color her face, well, let's do this bottom one here first. Okay, so I've dabbed my ink, and I'm going to brush on top of my template, and then I'm going to sort of stay away from her. I don't want to get too close. That's why I put the outline of the Copic marker on there too, so that I wouldn't have to get right next to her. Okay, so we've started our clouds, and then I move my template around. So now this time, so I don't color her face, I'm going to cover her face up. I'm going to do over here first, and then come over here, and that keeps me from painting over the top of her face. And then it kind of dips down right here, so I'm going to do one that kind of dips up. So I'm going to put this little pointy part right there, and then go right over the top of that like this. Maybe do a little bit over here, and I'm just going to work my way up as far as I want to go. Okay. Maybe move it over here a little bit. Look to see what my clouds look like. And I think I'll add one right in here. Over here for this girl, this side. Like that. And maybe another one over here, just a little bit. You just kind of look at it and see what it's looking like to you and where you want to add your clouds. But that's how I do all my clouds for my images, is with my little cloud template, and I just add them to the background there. So let's put her together. We've got her all colored. Alright, so I got all my little parts here, so I'm going to take my girl and I can go ahead and glue her onto this mat. So I'm going to do that first. That way she's all ready to go. And you just use whatever adhesive you like the best. Okay, I'm just going to glue her right onto her cute little mat. Like that. Okay. And then we're not tucking anything behind anything this time, so we can just go ahead and assemble all this. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my red piece to my card base. That right on there. And then next comes this great little piece with the flowers, or if you prefer you could flip it over and use the yellow. I actually started out with the yellow and then decided on the pink after I got it all, started putting it all together. That's why I colored her shirt the yellow color, was because I'd picked this pretty yellow paper. But then fell in love with the flowers after I got to starting putting it together. Okay, I'm going to put that one on here. Now about this time you're going to want to decide which way your card opens. So I always open mine from the bottom to the top. So I'm going to keep it like this. And I'm going to add this cute piece with the little flowered swirl things on it. Or you could use the light pink piece if you're using the yellow side. That'll look pretty. Okay, and this is about a half an inch in from the side, from this pink paper. I'm going to go ahead and put that down. And then next comes the little brown piece with the flowers, or you could flip it over and use the cream side, totally up to you. Okay, and that one is actually even with the pink, the white and pink flower piece, so we want to make sure that we line it up there at the, whoops, that's not lining it up. line it up at the top and the bottom. Okay. And then again is about 3/4 of an inch away from the edge here on this side. Okay, and then we have our girl, and I've used some pop dots on her, so I'm going to go ahead and pop dot her up. It looks like right here I got a little crazy on cutting that out, so I'm going to rip that off. And my little scallop there. I think it got stuck when I was cutting this first one out, and so I took that one. Okay, I've got my pop dots on there. I'll pick all these little stickers off. These things are always a pill. It never seems like they want to come off the way you want. Or it picks up the pop dot while you're trying to get them off there. Okay, and then I have her kind of set at an angle. So I'm going to say right about here. That looks pretty good right there with her. And then, this time we're trying out some Mayart silk ribbon. So I've already done my little bow on the Bow Easy, so you wouldn't have to watch me sit here and fiddle with it for 12 minutes while I try to get it to work the way I want. But I'm going to cut off these little tails, and I wanted it to have a little point this time, so I'm just going to go ahead and give this one a little chop. And I'm using my ribbon scissors. They're really sharp. And same for this side. Let's go on this one a little bit. Okay, so it's got a little pointed scallop there. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with this side. Okay, and then we're going to come up from this side over here and give it a little, whoops, and that one's a little bit more pointy, but that's alright. Okay, so I've got my little bow, and then your little package also came with some buttons, and they were a variety pack, so you got, you may have a different button or a different size than I have. So I'm going to go ahead and loop this through my button, and there's plenty of twine in your little kit to do these. I left plenty so you wouldn't have to worry about getting it on there. Okay, so I went down from the top for whichever side button I want to be to show, and then I'm going to go back up so that it's like, whoops, so that I've got one side up, and then I'm going to take my bow and I'm going to set the bow on here. So I've got one piece down here like this hanging off, but now I'm going to take this little tail and go back down. Whoops, makes sense. Put this, make it go back down like this. So you've got an X on the top, and you've got your two little pieces on the back that go like this, and I'm going to tie it onto my little bow. I've got on the back here, and I'm just going to cinch it down. Oops. And tie it in a double knot and give it a big Okay, and then I'm just going to take my scissors and cut that off. And I've left it a little bit because the button's got plenty of space back there to hide it. And we'll just throw that out. And so there you've got your button with your little bow on it. And then I'm going to adhere it with a pop dot. So I'm going to grab that. And I've got my little pop dot. And then you're going to decide, I put mine on this side. So I'm going to go, let's put you right here. So you got her on that on there. It's stuck down with the pop dot. That'll hold it really good. And then this month in your kit, you got some great Prima Say It in Crystals a package. So you can decide whichever crystals you want to use. And on the card I made for the store, I went ahead and used these little ones right here. That's why they're missing. But I think on this one, I'm going to maybe use these two right here. Those I think will look really pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those off, and they're already adhesive. They have adhesive on the back for you. Whoops. Okay, well you should remove it from this paper before you start trying to pull them off. That will be that way you can bend the paper back and just get the adhesive, not rip the crystals off. And I'm going to put those like that. Whoops. And then I'm going to grab the next one. And these are really pretty sparkly crystals. I'm going to put that one right here. And this pink, this one's actually a little pink color, so it matches this paper perfect. And the yellow goes great with her shirt. So you can put as many crystals on as you want. I'm just going to put those two. And that is our April 2013 Copic monthly card kit this time. So I hope you had fun coloring with me today, and we'll see you next time. Bye!